Hi, my name is Chris, and I am a disabled writer doing a Kickstarter campaign. Now I'm basically redoing my video. I've gotten a couple of constructive criticism for my first video. Now you can still view the first video down below. It'll read as introduction video. This video is going to talk a little bit more about my book series, The Daygar Legacy. Just real quick about my uh, Kickstarter campaign. It's going to be for $3,000. Now, 30 days have passed so far, and I'm well on my way, but I still definitely need help in getting to my goal. Now, that $3,000 is going to help me publish books. It's going to help me get professional editing. It's going to help me get professional cover designs, as well as help with marketing. Now, I've proven that you can publish a book for nothing and still get good reviews for it. However, it does affect my sales that I wasn't able to get those three things. These are going to be short books. It's going to basically be a serial. And I'm doing that so I can release them a lot faster on the market. Um, Instead of having to wait for a novel every year, as most people only write one full-length novel a year, sometimes two, I'm able to break it up into like 5 smaller parts and release one every few months. I'm hoping within the first year I can release 4 or 5 novels. Now, another thing that I'm going to be doing with each of these novels is I'm going to be releasing supplementals. Now, these are actually part of the main storyline that I've cut out due to pacing, due to overall length, because I don't want any more than 100 pages. So I've created these smaller books. These smaller books will be about 10 to 20 pages, where the major novels will be between 30 to 100 pages long. Each supplement will add a bit about the story. It's not major storylines, but it does do a little bit of explaining certain events or adding to character development. Now, a reader could read just only the major books and not worry about the supplements and still get pretty much the same experience from the books. The supplements are only going to enhance your understanding of certain things. So you definitely benefit from reading them, but it doesn't take away if you don't read them. Now, one other thing is when I release these as a paperback book, the supplementals will be included into the story. And if I ever release like an actual novel of the first 3 to 5 books, the supplements would also be added into that. So that would be a bonus for getting the actual book versus getting the ebook. So I want to talk a bit about what the Daygar Legacy is about. Now, I've been thinking about the Daygar Legacy for about 4 years, and this was before I decided I wanted to start writing again. I've been wanting to be a writer since a very young age, and I, tried here and there, but I was never really able to pick it up. And 2 years ago, I decided that I wanted to really do it. Then I got injured, and that set me back nearly 18 months before I tried again. And I found that it's actually been very beneficial because I'm disabled. This is why I'm pushing for it, because I'm hoping that with writing and making a career out of it, I can use it to help get myself better, to get myself no longer disabled. The Daygar Legacy is basically about a group of hunters in the form of Templar Knights. Their single goal is to deal with the vampire threat. Now, this story takes place in 1348, and this is actually the time of the Black Plague in Europe. It was actually started in 1346, but it was slow moving. But by 1348, it reached France and moved right up to from South France to North France in less than a year. I think it was like 6 months' time. and 1349 it hit Europe. So this story is following those events. Now, I looked at a lot of history for this story, and I'm fully aware of a lot of different events that went on during this time. Now, my basic premise is that the vampires are spreading the plague. Now, I want you to think about that. Why would vampires kill off their food source? They need humans to live. So why kill them? And why kill them in such drastic numbers? Because the Black Plague in it from 1346 to 1353 killed about 2.5 million people. Some towns disappeared because there was no one there anymore. So why this drastic thing? And this is what the book series is going to explore. Now, as we see in the first book, Templar 5, which you may notice that there's only 4 Templar characters, so where's the 5th Templar character? That doesn't come till a little bit later, so don't think that you might have missed something. So they went to a vampire house that has nothing to do with the other vampires to ask them for help. Now, a little bit of spoiler here is that they agree to help only if they present evidence of the claim that the vampire nation, this vampire group, will go after them once they're done with the humans. So the first book is basically trying to gather this evidence. Now, as Jacques admitted, this evidence was false. There was no evidence. So they have to fabricate this evidence. How they do that proves to be interesting. Trust me, there's going to be a lot more vampire battles in the book and in the supplements too. So that's what the first book is about. Now, of course, they managed to do it. How they do it, that's the mystery. But they managed to convince them that they have evidence and they agree to help. How they help, I'm not releasing that either. You'll have to kind of wait and see in the second book what that is. Now, the Daygar legacy is actually about 10 soldiers, 10 Templar knights. And there are basically 2 groups. There is the support group, and then there is the frontline group. Now, this Templar 5 within the first novel is the frontline group. There's a second group that's currently held up in Paris. Now, this is also during the time of the 100-Year War. France and England are fighting each other. And even in 1348, they're still fighting each other because the Black Plague hasn't really reached Paris just yet. The Templar, the second group, the support group, is trying to fend off vampires while protecting the French army. When we don't meet them, they're referred to in all of the books, but we don't really meet them until the third book. And in the third book, all 10 characters meet up and kind of discuss their new strategy from there. Now, one of the difficulties I'm having with this story is the time frame itself. You know, I really want to give equal representation to different races, different genders, but the time frame, women really weren't known for fighting. I mean, you had rare examples such as Joan of Arc, who was in the 1400s. So I'm hoping that in the later books that I can start to introduce that. Female vampire hunters. And not just the femme fatale ones, but like actual girls who are fighting against vampires. So that is in the works. I really want that to happen, but I still have to respect the time frame itself, that there were certain rules of order. But I also think that with the pandemic of the Black Plague killing people at such a fast rate, that sometimes the rules can be broken for a greater good. Because what's the point of bearing children if the vampires win? So that is something that I do want to bring to the later part of this series. Maybe by book 4 or 5, I can introduce that. So that is in the works. It might seem like it's a boys' club only right now, but that's just what the times are. Um, Now, the one thing I hope to explore with the vampires in the Daygar Legacy is their fracturing. Now, one of the things that I've seen in a lot of movies that feature vampires, especially a lot of vampires, is they always seem to be on the same side with each other. That when you're a vampire, you're automatically aligned to a vampire. There are notable exceptions to this, but for the most part, if you're a vampire, you always side with vampires. The thing that I want to explore is that there are very different types of vampires, different houses, different clans, and they don't necessarily get along with each other. In fact, what they want more than anything is to destroy a house and take over their land. And I really want to explore that in these books. But one of the key problems I'm going to face early on is that one house of vampire managed to convince all of the other houses to work together. So maybe there's a way to exploit that. But they're working together to spread this disease, again, killing their food source. Why? Have to read the book to find out. And there's like this really big explanation of why. It's not as simple as, if we kill them, then it's easier to take them over. There's actual reason why. Because vampires, for the most part, are vastly superior to humans. But there's actually something that really prevents them from taking over. Thus, the reason why they're doing all of this. Now, the Daygar Legacy, I am going to be releasing once the Kickstarter campaign is over and I really start getting things working. I am going to be releasing a free series on my blog. It's going to be called Daygar Legacy, or it's either going to be called Daygar Legacy Genesis or Daygar Genesis. And it's basically how our characters got into this position. The series itself starts that they're already in the middle of this situation, but the Daygar Genesis probably will be like a post every few weeks to once a month, and it'll talk about Jacques and his very close friend who was raised as a brother, Bertram, who is actually the leader of the second group of the Templar, the support group, and how they together basically got everyone together. It was basically in a span of a year and a half, and the Pope asking for their help. So it actually will explain a lot of things and give some good character intro. I don't know how long this series is going to be offhand. I figure I write a couple of pages here and there so you can kind of get an idea, or I write out a scene. I'm very excited about the Daygar Legacy. This has been a story, like I said, 4 years in the making, though the original story was vastly different than what it is now. Part 2 was the first scene I ever thought of, and I've been waiting to write this, and I've gone through that conversation 100 times, and I'm glad to have finally written it. And I'm really looking forward to writing the rest of this book, meeting the characters and getting to know them, really understanding things. Um, and I am using a lot of history to explain a lot of events, both of what happened before and what's happening now. Because I did research on the Middle Ages, the Black Plague, vampire lore from around the world, which I intend to use to form the basic houses, um, all sorts of things. So, and I've done a lot of outlining. It's mostly in my head. I have a basic idea of what things are, but I won't really know how we come to those points until I write it. And that's just the kind of writer I am. These books I'm hoping will come out pretty fast. I'm hoping to get out 5 in a year, so that's basically about 2 months between each book. More than likely, each book will go for between $1.99 to $2.99. Depends on how the market is looking at that time. It may be more, it may be less. And then the supplements will most likely go for 99 cents a piece. Now, there's actually going to be multiple series of this. I estimate that the first series is going to be, if we look at it as far as novels, which will be about 3 to 5 books that I'm writing, I imagine that there's going to be about 3 to 5 novel lengths for the first series. But, the second series takes place, I think, in the 1500s. Series 3 takes place in the 1800s. Series 4 takes place late 1900s to early 2000. So I have plans for where this series is going. There is a lot of lore, and if you've read any of my other guest blog articles, I'm actually described the origin of where vampires came from. I've actually designed a magic system that's actually based on science. So I've done a lot of world building for this. So like I said, I'm disabled, I have post-concussion syndrome, and that does limit my ability to go out there and work. I'm seriously, I'm unable to handle a day job. I'm unable to work full time, because if I could do that, then I wouldn't be on Kickstarter, in all honesty. Kickstarter is really my last bet at doing something, because I've been denied for long-term disability. I've been denied for Social Security. I mean, that's where I'm at with this. And I want a chance. $3,000 would not be enough to help me overcome my disability, but it would be enough to help me write books. And with that money, I could potentially make money off of my books. And that money could help me overcome my disability. And that is what I'm wanting. I want a chance to overcome my disability. And the way I can do that is by writing. Because with writing, I can set my own schedule. I can set my own pace. Take as many breaks as I need to. If I work really hard one day, I can take the next day off because my mind just can't handle it. Writing is the best career for me right now, because no job would give me that kind of freedom. But being self-employed as a writer and a blogger, I can do that. And that's why I really want this little bit of a boost to really get there. So if you can donate, I am asking you to please donate. Give me a chance to live out my dream. Give me a chance to give to you a quality book. And in exchange, there are a lot of things that you can get. You can get special editions of my books. You can get maps that I make myself. Check out my world building series. You'll see that I am really good at making maps. Do you want to be featured as a character in the book? There are a lot of opportunities for characters in this book. Please share this. Please share this with your friends, your family, your neighbor's dog, if he has money. Definitely check out my blog. It's chrisvody.com. You'll find all sorts of information. Check out my updates up top. I'm always updating there. Any new thing that I'm doing, check it out. Send me a message, talk to me, ask questions if you want to. I'm more than happy to help. I'm doing a lot of guest blogging in the next 2 months, so definitely check that out as well. I'm going to be doing part 3 next week, where we get to really understand the 4 characters we've been following so far. We get to understand them a lot better on what their motivations are. I should be releasing at least one more video before the end of the campaign. where I try to go over what the money will be used for and what I will do if I make more than that. So I thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good day. Once again, just please share this because I really need this. I've been let down by the system. I really need the opportunity to have control over my own destiny. So please, please help me.